Cambray, Picard, Kimbré, Dutch, Kamerijk, Old spelling Cambray, is a commune in the Nord department and in the Nord-Pas-de-Calais region of France on the Scheldt River, which is known locally as the Escaut River, a sub-prefecture of the department. Cambray is a town which had 32,518 inhabitants in the census of 2009. It is in the heart of the urban unit of Cambray which, with 47,138 inhabitants, ranks as seventh largest of the department. Its urban area, a more extensive range, included 65,986 inhabitants in 2009. With Lille and the towns of the former Nord-Pas-de-Calais mining basin. It is also part of the metropolitan area of Lille, which has more than 3.8 million inhabitants. Towards the end of the Roman Empire, Cambray replaced Beauvais as the capital of the land of the Nervii. At the beginning of the Merovingian era, Cambray became the seat of an immense archdiocese covering all the right bank of the Scheldt and the centre of a small ecclesiastical principality, roughly coinciding with the Shire of Brabant, including the central part of the Low Countries. The bishopric had some limited secular power and depended on the Holy Roman Empire until annexation to France in 1678. Fénelon, nicknamed the Swan of Cambray, was the most renowned of the archbishops. The fertile lands which surround it and the textile industry gave it prosperity in the Middle Ages, but in modern times it is less industrialized than its neighbors of Nord-Pas-de-Calais. Cambray was the Duke of Wellington's headquarters for the British Army of Occupation, from 1815 to 1818. Occupied and partly destroyed by the German army during World War I, Cambray saw unfold in its vicinity the Battle of Cambray, where tanks were massively and successfully used for the first time. A second Battle of Cambray took place between 8 and 10 October 1918 as part of the 100 Days Offensive. World War II was followed by reconstructions and a rapidly developing economy and population, abruptly reversed by the 1973 oil crisis. Cambray today is a lively city and, despite the past destruction, maintains a rich monumental heritage. Cambray is affirmed as the urban centre of Cambraisis. Its economic life is strengthened by its position on the main local highway and river. Geography. Location. The town of Cambray is located in the south of the Nord department, of which it is chef-lieu of the arrondissement. It belongs to the dense network of the cities of the area, which are separated by a few tens of kilometers. Douai is only 24 kilometers, Valenciennes is 29 kilometers, Arras is 36 kilometers and Saint-Quentin 37 kilometers as the crow flies. The regional capital of Lille is 52 kilometers away. Cambray is not very far from several European capitals. Brussels is 108 kilometers, Paris is 160 kilometers and London is 280 kilometers. The city was born and developed on the right bank of the Scheldt River, locally known as the Escaut. The river has its source in the department of Aisne, which is barely any more than 20 kilometers away. Geology and landforms. Cambray is located on chalk bedrock of the Cretaceous period, which forms the northern boundary of the Paris Basin. Between, to the east, the hills Forth-Iéric and Avesnoy, the foothills of the Ardennes, and northwest, the hills of Artois. It is at a point which is relatively lower than these two regions, called the Cambray threshold, or the Bapaume threshold, which facilitates the passage between the south and the north. Bapaume is 100 meters above sea level, Avenay-sur-Helpe is at 143 meters and Cambray only 41 meters. The Saint-Quentin Canal, the Canal du Nord, the A1, A2 and A26 autoroutes all borrow all this passage between the basin of the Seine and the plains of the Nord department. The chalky subsoil allowed, as in many medieval cities, the digging of a network of cellars, tunnels and quarries under the city. The poor quality of the Cambray chalk was reserved for use in the manufacture of lime filling, as well as common constructions. For prestigious buildings, stone from the nearby villages of Noyelles-sur or Escaut, Ramilly and Marcoing was used. The city is bordered in its western part, as well as to the north and the south, by the alluvial zones of the Scheldt Valley. Hydrography: Cambray is built on the right bank of the Scheldt. The river, still of a very modest flow in Cambray, played a crucial role in the history of the city by providing multiple functions, including allowing the transportation of men and goods since antiquity. However, it was undeveloped and was crossed by numerous marshes. It was with the discovery of coal at Hansen in 1734 that the Scheldt was expanded and declared navigable in 1780, from Cambray to the North Sea. The Scheldt is today the Canal de l'Escaut downstream of Cambray. In addition, the river initially served as the boundary between the bishoprics of Tournai on its left bank and Cambray on its right bank. From the 6th century, when the division of Charlemagne's empire in 843, this border was retained to delimit the kingdoms of Lothair I and Charles the Bull, making Cambray a city of the Holy Roman Empire until 1677. The Scheldt was also indispensable to many economic activities, such as the tanning, milling, the manufacture of salt and soap, as well as ferreting of linen, the weaving of which was one of the main activities of the city. Finally, the river was used in the Middle Ages and then by Vauban for the defense of the city by the establishment of flood defensive areas. Despite its important role in the history of the city, the Scheldt is little integrated into the present urban landscape. Climate. Main article. Climate of Nord-Pas-de-Calais. Climate in this area has mild differences between highs and lows, and there is adequate rainfall year-round. The Köppen climate classification subtype for this climate is CFB. However, the city is about 110 kilometers from the nearest coast. Precipitation is distributed year-round, with highs in the spring and autumn, with February being the driest month. Contrasting with the rainy image of the region, the total annual precipitation is relatively small, with 642 mm at Cambrai-Epinoy, identical to the Montsouris Paris station, which is at the same altitude. It is less than those of Toulouse at 656 mm and Nice at 767 mm. However, the number of days of rain confirms the oceanic character of the climate. The mean thermal amplitude between the winter and summer does not exceed 15 degrees Celsius, although again establishing a comparison with Paris, that Cambray is 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius colder over all combined seasons. On average, there are 71 days of fog per year, 15 days of storm and 20 days with snow. If comparing the data of Cambray and those of towns such as Dunkirk or Boulogne, there are colder minimum temperatures and a warmer maximum in Cambray, the difference being approximately 2 degrees Celsius, as well as a larger number of freezing days and less heavy precipitation. It's said a transitional oceanic climate with some continental influences. The temperature record in Cambray is 38.2 degrees Celsius, which was established on the 6th of August 2003. Ombrothermic diagram. Routes of communication and transport. Road. Cambray is located at the crossroads of two French autoroutes. The A2 from Combles to the Franco-Belgian border opened in 1973, and the A26 from Calais to Troyes opened in 1992. These autoroutes partly merge with the European roads of the E19 from Amsterdam to Paris via Brussels for the A2, and the E17 from Antwerp to Bonn via Lille and Reims for the A26. Cambray and its region are served by 4 autoroute interchanges. The A2, exit 14 from Paris and exit 15 from Brussels, and on the A26 the exits 8 from Calais and 9 from Reims. Cambray is also at the crossroads of the Route Nationale 30 of Bapaume to Quillayrain, Route Nationale 43 of Saint-Rufinus to Calais, Route Nationale 44 of Cambrai to Vitry, and therefore consequently renamed to D6XX, and D939 of Cambrai to Arras, to facilitate access to the east of the Cambrai from the A2 and A26 autoroutes, to alleviate traffic in the crossing of the city and to serve the future Niagnes business zone. A southern bypass was the subject of a declaration of public utility on the 22nd of April 1999. Its route has been repeatedly modified and challenged, because it crosses the urban ecological park of the Chenu Wood in Préville, the only public natural green space of the Cambrai. The bypass is in service since the 17th of September 2010. A bypass to the north is also part of the program of major departmental projects, which was required to have been initiated by 2011. Railway Cambrai railway station is connected by direct trains to Lille, Douai, Valenciennes, Saint-Quentin, Reims. The link to Douai and Lille has improved after the electrification of the single-track Douai to Cambrai line in 1993. For the commissioning of joining Paris to Cambrai by TGV via Douai, which was subsequently cancelled. Direct connections on weekdays are 15 trains per day, with a journey time of about 30 minutes between Douai and Cambrai, 8 trains, with a journey time often less than an hour to Lille Flandres station, 10 trains, with a time of little more than 40 minutes on average to Valenciennes, and a dozen trains, with a journey time of around 50 minutes, to Saint-Quentin. Cambrai is directly connected by rail to any European city, but links to Paris are mediocre if compared to those of the neighboring cities. Valenciennes, Douai and Arras are connected to Paris by TGV several times per day. Saint-Quentin is connected by TER or intercity trains with less than 2 hours travel time. Cambrai was connected to Paris in 2010 by a single direct intercity service of 2 hours, with a little suited schedule for professional use. The times of other trains via Douai Saint-Quentin vary between 2 and 4.5 hours. Railway history: as early as 1833 the municipal council sought passage of a railway line through Cambrai. However, a route through Arras and Douai to Lille, with a branch to Valenciennes, was preferred in 1845. It remained, therefore, to connect Cambrai to this line, which was done in 1878 by a single, winding line between Cambrai and Douai. Meanwhile, Cambrai had been linked, in 1858, to the Paris-Brussels line by a branch line from Bisny and joining Somain, near Douai. Other railway lines of local interest saw development in the 19th century, particularly in 1880 the Société des Chemins de Fer du Cambrai, which operated 3 routes in the Cambrai between Cambrai, Caudry, Saint-Quentin, Le Cateau and Dinane. An agricultural use of Cambrai to Marquion, now offline, was also open in 1898. Cambrai railway station was also the terminus of a standard gauge secondary route of CGL, VFIL linking Marquion and Beausoleil-Aumont. Railway projects: the regional transport scheme evokes 3 axes of projects concerning Cambrai: improving the Douai-Cambrai connections, the construction of a new railway line between Cambrai and Marquion-Arras, in conjunction with the large-gauge Seine-North Europe Canal project, and the establishment of a business zone of Marquion, as well as searching for a link from Orchies towards Cambrai. Waterways: Cambrai is one of the 7 territorial subdivisions of the regional management of Nord-Pas-de-Calais of navigable waterways in France. The city is located at the junction of the Saint-Quentin Canal to the Ouessant Paris and the Canal de l'Escaut, which leads to the Dunkirk-Escaut Canal. Commercial traffic on these canals is low, of the order of 250,000 tons upstream of Cambray and 420,000 tons downstream. Marina is located at the junction of the two canals, at Kamerijk and Kimbré. Waterways history. The Canal de l'Escaut, between Cambray and Valenciennes, was opened to navigation in 1780. Moreover, a river link between Paris and the Nord department had been projected as early as the time of Mazarin and Colbert. The construction of the Saint-Quentin Canal, between Chauny-on-the-Ouessant and Cambray, was taken up in 1802 on the order of Napoleon I and completed in 1810, after the drilling of the Recaville Tunnel. The canal and tunnel were opened with great pomp on 28 April 1810 by the Emperor and Empress Marie-Louise. The Saint-Quentin Canal has experienced heavy traffic, but since 1966, the date of the opening of the Canal du Nord, it has lost much of its importance. Waterways projects. A wide-gauge river link project, called Escaut Link Project, is part of the 30 priority projects of the future Trans-European Transport Network. The route of this project is through Marquion, 12 kilometers west of Cambray. A platform of activities is planned therein. The commissioning of the canal could take place around 2015. Airports. Cambray is in close proximity to two airfields, Cambrai-Epinoy to the northwest, whose use was booked at the Airbase 103 until its closure in 2012, and Cambrai-Niagnes, 5 kilometers to the southeast, open to recreational aviation, within an approximate radius of 1 hour 30 minutes by road. 5 major airports: Lille-Lesquin at 60 km, Brussels-South Charleroi at 114 km, Brussels National at 148 km, Paris-Beauvais-Tilley at 151 km and Paris-Charles de Gaulle at 152 km. Urban transport. By 1897, that is, upon completion of the demolition of the fortifications, the city had considered the construction of electric tram lines. It was a very modern solution for the time, since electric traction only appeared in 1881 and the development of this mode of transport didn't truly occur until 1895 in Paris and the Paris region. In 1903, the network of the Compagnie des Tramways to Cambray was opened, 16 kilometers and with 5 lines. After World War I, the uneconomic network was not recommissioned. Since 1933, the agglomeration of Cambray has been served by a network of buses. 5 urban routes were operating in 2010, run by CFC. A. Luxembourg, Cambray stations, Escaut Duvis. B. Neuville-Saint-Aïe-Cambrai, Cambray stations, Zac Cambray South. C. Les Martigues-Pyrénées, Cambray stations, Ray-Lencourt-Saint-Olle. D. Cambray stations, Ray-Lencourt-Saint-Olle. E. Zac Cambray South, Cambray stations. Since the 7th of January 2013, the agglomeration community of Cambray has implemented a free shuttle which serves 17 stops around the city. In 2008, the urban transport perimeter of Cambray, which with 59,326 inhabitants, is the smallest of the 12 PTU of the Nord-Pas-de-Calais region, had completed about 400,000 kilometers per year, corresponding to 740,000 journeys. The agglomeration community of Cambray is the organizing authority of urban transport. However, while it has 23 communes, only 6 were served by urban transport in 2006. For other towns and cities, the urban community has delegated jurisdiction to the department. In a relatively sparsely populated agglomeration with little extensive public transport, it cannot easily compete with the automobile. Nevertheless, the agglomeration community of Cambray reflects on the future of urban transport from a perspective of sustainable development, with aims to strengthen the supply of public transport in order to capture a portion of travel by private car, and reducing car traffic and CO2 emissions. The realization of the new multimodal transport hub in the quarter of the railway station of Cambray is part of this policy.